Good morning and welcome. I'm Rick Cotton, Executive Director of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. We're here today for Governor Cuomo to sign a very important piece of legislation. But before we turn to that important task, I want to acknowledge individuals in the audience. Gary LaBarbera, Port Authority Commissioner and President of the Building and Construction Trades Council of Greater New York. George McDonald, Port Authority Commissioner and founder of the Doe Fund. Mitchell Moss, Director, Rudin Center for Transportation. Assembly Member Neely Rozick. Mario Salento, President, New York State AFL-CIO. Angela Kokoza, Executive Vice President, TWU Local 501. Jerome Fragola, President, TWU Local 1400. Billy Lynn, Business Manager, IUOE Local 30. Jeff Wilpon, Chief Operating Officer, New York Mets. Kathy Wild, President and CEO of the Partnership for New York City. Phil Ang, President of the Long Island Railroad. And Paul Karras, Commissioner of the New York State Department of Transportation. Why don't we give them all a hand? So the important milestone, namely the passage of this piece of legislation related to Governor Cuomo's initiative to create a mass transit link to LaGuardia, is the occasion for the signing of this important piece of legislation. It is truly extraordinary and completely unacceptable, and I would say indefensible, for LaGuardia to be the only major airport on the east coast of the United States without a rail link. With no rail link, millions of passengers too frequently face inevitable congestion on the roadways and unpredictable delay in reaching the airport. They never know what the travel time to LaGuardia will be, whether it will be the normal experience or whether it will be 2, 3, or more times what they anticipate. And there is no question that the unpredictability is getting worse, much worse. With the current GPS tracking capabilities, we have detailed data from taxi cab and for-hire vehicle trips to the airport. We know that peak travel time has increased by 30% in the last 5 years. That trend line is simply terrible. If we don't act, our congested roadways will only get worse, and the trip to LaGuardia will get worse, much worse. The predictions today are that travel times to LaGuardia at peak times could increase by 45% by 2045. The governor has made clear, abundantly clear, and repeatedly, that we must have a better plan. The governor's proposed rail link to LaGuardia, the AirTrain, will create a reliable and predictable under 30-minute rail link from Midtown Manhattan to the airport. It will also enable passengers from across Long Island to use the LIRR network to access the airport by rail, and it will provide a convenient link to the 7 subway line. It will get travelers off our congested roadways. It will get them out of their cars. That will benefit travelers headed for the airport. That will benefit the environment by reducing air pollution, and that will benefit the community by reducing congestion in the neighborhood around the airport. Last week, the New York State Legislature passed the legislation the governor will sign today. It authorizes an attractive alternative route along public lands that require no private takings. That alternative route was informed by substantial community input, and it will be evaluated among a variety of other options as part of the environmental review process. But the passage of the legislation enables the review process to start and the project to move forward in earnest. The route that the legislature approved and authorized as an input to the environmental impact statement deserves real attention. It will create the opportunity from a rail link either from the new Moynihan Train Hall, the world-class Moynihan Train Hall, I might add, that will have completed construction at the time the AirTrain service begins. It will also enable departure from the Grand Central Station, and the new facility as part of the East Side Access program of the Long Island Railroad. Departing from either of those 2 points, it will be a 30-minute trip, 16 minutes on the Long Island Railroad, and then 6 minutes on the AirTrain, so that the traveler will arrive at LaGuardia within a 30-minute trip. That will be reliable and predictable. As I said, what you're looking at is a rendering of the departure from Grand Central, the East Side access capability. From either Grand Central or Penn Station, the LIRR will travel to a brand new facility, the AirTrain station at Willets Point, and a great deal of design and engineering effort will go into making that transfer easy and seamless. From Willets Point, the route will run to the airport, and there will be 2 stops, an eastern stop in front of the Delta facilities and a western stop at the new Central Hall. At the new Central Hall, the traveler will have easy access to all gates and all facilities. The environmental review process starts this summer. It will consider all options for the AirTrain route, and that process will be done in close consultation with all stakeholders and with the community. The process will receive feedback about the project itself, receive input on the proposed design and the alternative routes, and develop recommendations for any necessary mitigations. Throughout the process, we will engage with the community and with all stakeholders. This new AirTrain complements Governor Cuomo's vision for the $8 billion transformation of LaGuardia. And this transformation is extensive and extraordinary. It will involve new arrival and departure halls across the entire airport footprint. It will have 6 new concourses. It will have world-class facilities, retail and dining, and state-of-the-art security. And I might make a personal observation that if you've been to LaGuardia and seen the steel going up on the first arrivals and departures hall, the extensive revision of the roadway network, it has actually led my cynical friends who have heard me talk for several years about the fact that there will be a new LaGuardia, that groundbreakings have taken place, repeated announcements have been made about updating it, and they now are finally saying to me, "You mean it's actually going to happen?" And the answer is it's underway, it is happening, and if we look at the milestones, the LaGuardia Airport Transformation Plan, which was put together by the Governor's Airport Advisory Panel, was announced in 2015. That was followed swiftly by the groundbreaking on the overall airport in 2016. Delta broke ground on its project in 2017, and the new parking garage opened at the beginning of this year. Looking forward, in the summer of 2018, just a few months from now, in fact, actually, I guess we're in the summer, the AirTrain EIS review process will begin. The fall of this year, we'll see the first new gates open, and the end of 2019 is our target to complete the EIS process, have the decision made on the route and all the details of the project, and start construction early in 2020 at the same time that the new arrivals and departures hall at Terminal B opens. That will be followed in 2021 by the opening of the Delta arrival and departure hall, and targeting the end of 2022 for construction of the AirTrain to finish. The new LaGuardia is what New York deserves. The rail access to the new LaGuardia is also what New York deserves. Let me now introduce the driving force behind both, the 56th Governor of the State of New York, Andrew M. Cuomo.
Thank you. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you. And this is an exciting day, truly. First to Mr. Rick Cotton, who has had a vision and persistence and capacity. Let's give him a big round of applause. To George McDonald and the members of the Port Authority Board who have come to this agreement and worked out a comprehensive plan for the entire region. I thank them, and I thank them for their help for New York. Let's give them a round of applause, please. Gary LaBarbera, who's head of the Building Trades Council, who says he's going to get it done even faster than the Port Authority predicts. Gary LaBarbera. Mario Salento, who's president of the AFL-CIO. President, pleasure to be with you, Mario. Let's give him a round of applause. We have Jeff Wilpon. This connection will go right to Willets Field, so it'll be right by the stadium, and I think it's going to enhance not just the stadium, but the whole Willets Point area, because it'll have direct access to the airport. And I don't know if you noticed, Jeff, but on the picture that said Willets Point, the seamless station, there was a little sign in the background that said, "Let's go Mets." Shameless promotion by New York. I want to thank Nellie Rosick for being here on behalf of the New York State Assembly. This was passed by the legislature just last week. It was essential to get this plan going, and the legislature delivered. So let's give Nellie Rosick and the legislature a round of applause. And we're going to hear from Mitchell Moss from the Route and Transportation Center, who's going to put it all in context. Thank you for being with us, Mitchell Moss. Not yet. He is raring to go, that point. Let me just say a couple of words, and then let me take a step back on all of this. What made New York, New York? What made New York City, New York City? What made New York State, New York State? We didn't just happen to become the greatest city and the greatest state in the country and on the globe. It wasn't coincidence, it wasn't circumstance, it wasn't a matter of evolution. It was a matter of ambition and drive and daring and capacity, and we built this place. It is what we built. And we were born from some really bold and visionary founding fathers. Everything we did was the first, was the greatest, was impossible. All the infrastructure you see, 600-mile subway system. How can you do that? We did. George Washington Bridge, Verrazano Bridge, Holland Tunnel, longest tunnel without ventilation. All the things we did were firsts. And we made this place New York. LaGuardia Airport, Fiorello LaGuardia in 1939. It was visionary that he would build an airport. And New York led the nation, but the nation led the world. And that's what made America, America, and made New York, New York. Somewhere along the way, we lost that drive. We lost that confidence. Ask yourself, what was the last major innovation that New York did? This country hasn't built an airport in 20 years. How amazing is that? Airports are the new front doors to economies. You fly all around the world, one airport greater than the next, this phenomenal competition, and we haven't built an airport in 20 years. We've lost that competitive edge. President Trump in the campaign talked about a $1.5 trillion infrastructure program. And I said, great. He's a builder, he's a developer, he's a New Yorker, he gets it, he understands that we are in a national crisis when it comes to transportation and infrastructure. Great. The $1.5 trillion infrastructure program somehow went away, and they spent the money on the tax cut instead, and now the $1.5 trillion infrastructure is down to $200 billion over years, okay? To put the $200 billion in focus, New York itself is doing a $100 billion infrastructure program. Because what we're trying to do is make up for literally 70, 80 years of disinvestment. Not only have we not built anything new, not only have there been no new innovations, we haven't even maintained what we had. And that is a sad commentary, frankly, on this generation's leadership. We were given this great legacy by our forefathers, and we haven't advanced it. We haven't even maintained it. So what we're trying to do now is make up for 70 years of apathy and inaction. Today we're talking about the LaGuardia AirTrain, which in and of itself is a very, very important piece. How can you not have a rail train to the city from a New York airport? I mean, it's just incomprehensible, right? So this component in and of itself is very important. But I want to make sure that we take a step back and rather than just focus on all the individual components, we didn't design a plan of components. We designed a new transportation network. And these are components within that network. And it's a comprehensive network for air, cars, vehicles, and for our rail system. When it comes to airports, we start with Republic Airport on Long Island, Stewart Airport in the Mid-Hudson, which we believe can do more business, take more traffic, and reduce the demand on the New York City airports, which have a very high volume. A new JFK airport, $10 billion, that is being master planned right now. We have the AirTrain that we just discussed, a new LaGuardia Airport, which is $8 billion and is going to be phenomenal. And it's not just downstate, Mid-Hudson, Long Island. We're building new airports all across the state. Elmira Corning, Ithaca, Syracuse, Rochester, Plattsburgh, all new airports. The entire state is getting new airports or significantly rehabilitated airports to create a new front door, because it really is about the airports. When it comes to vehicular traffic, we're replacing key crossings that were long overdue. Governor Mario Cuomo Bridge, the old Tappan Zee Bridge, Queens Midtown Tunnel is being all redone. I don't know if you see it when you're going through. Kosciuszko Bridge is the way I pronounce it. It's a great debate, but I'm sticking with Kosciuszko. Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, Gothel's Bridge, cashless tolling that is in place citywide, which is saving hundreds of hours. It's better for the environment. It's saving time. It's up. It's working. It was done well, and it was done quickly. And then we've proposed a congestion pricing plan, which is going to be a priority next year, because on top of all of it, we have to reduce volume and congestion in the city. It's not just about the resources from congestion pricing. We can't handle the volume. The rail system has to be advanced because we can't handle the vehicular volume. New York City buses can't even move, and congestion pricing is part of that. And then our rail system starts coming from Long Island with a new Long Island Railroad, $6 billion renovation, new second track, new third track, 39 stations are going to be overhauled. So what do you mean by second track, third track? When you hear the morning traffic report and they say there are delays on the Long Island Railroad because there's a delay on the track, they mean literally the track. There are places on the Long Island Railroad where there is a single track, believe it or not. And God forbid a squirrel walks onto the track and has a heart attack, everything stops. Phil Eng has to get in his car, go out. Before they can move the squirrel, they have to have a full crisis review of what happened to the squirrel. We need redundancy of tracks. So we're going to have a second track and we're going to have a third track. And we have an entire new fleet of cars coming in for the Long Island Railroad. That's all approved. That's happening. They come in not to the decrepit Penn Station. They're going to come into a new Moynihan train hall, which is right across the street, which is going to be extraordinary. And it is going to be the exact opposite of what Penn is now. It's going to be retail, it's going to be state-of-the-art, it's under construction, and we're going to go back and renovate Penn Station also. And then the New York City subway system, the MTA, we have an emergency action plan that is in place for $864 million. The legislature had New York City fund the plan, so that ended a one-year delay. And then we have a $33 billion MTA capital plan, which is the largest single investment in the MTA that we will have made. But when you ignore it for 70 years, and when it comes to a budget negotiation, the first thing that always goes is maintenance and repairs, we're now paying the price. You have a 100-year-old system. You have 100-year-old electric switches in the subway system. You have 40-year-old cars in the subway system. We haven't wanted to make the investment. We now learn the hard way, and now we have to get that investment done. So it's air system, new airports, new rail, and an improved vehicular traffic system. And it all works together. If the mass transit is better, people will get out of their cars and will get into mass transit. Congestion pricing will actually provide incentives for people to get into mass transit. And then airports are everything. Even upstate New York, people are flying in. We're competitive in upstate New York, but you have to be able to get there. And you have to be able to get there quickly and efficiently and effectively, and that's what the airport systems are all about. The last piece is now just doing it. And I'll pick up on what Executive Director Cotton said. When he told his friends he was building a new LaGuardia Airport, they said, yeah. There is a level of distrust of government, a level of apathy about what we can do that is self-defeating. You know, when you think back, all those great successes, Brooklyn Bridge, all these firsts, Erie Canal, engineering marvel, there was a confidence in us. There was a confidence in government. There was a confidence in society that we can get something done. Well, they never built a bridge that long before. Yeah, I know, but we can because we're New York. And that fueled the growth. That enabled the growth. That facilitated the growth. Even when the public was cynical. Governor Clinton talked about the Erie Canal. They moved for his impeachment because they thought it was madness, literally. But successive generations came in and said, I know it sounds bold, I know it sounds daring, I know we can. We're now in the exact opposite position. We say we're going to build a LaGuardia Airport, and they say it's never going to happen. Government is incompetent, it's inefficient, it's ineffective, it's going to take them twice as long, it's going to be twice as expensive. I believe it. And that disbelief in our capacity is disabling. Because if the public doesn't believe you're going to do it, they're not going to give you the support to do it. What's the antidote? Prove them wrong. Prove competence, prove success. We're going to build a new Tappan Zee Bridge. Yeah, you said that for 20 years. No, I mean it really, really, really. I still don't believe you. Oh yeah? We're going to build it. And we're going to build it on time, and we're going to build it on budget, and then you will see. And we did. New LaGuardia Airport. I don't believe it. Get in your car, drive down the Grand Central Parkway, and look at it. It is undeniable. So these successes, these proof of concept, proof of capacity, is going to vindicate public support. And once New Yorkers feel that drive again and feel that confidence, you watch what we can do. And this program is undeniable. I'm not spending a lot of time saying to the public, trust me, trust me, trust me. We're just going to do it. And then they will see it. And seeing is believing. And that's the next step. Making it happen quickly, efficiently, effectively, on time, on budget. Show government can work and dispel all that apathy and all that cynicism and skepticism. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Thank you, and God bless you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mitchell Moss.
I now know why they asked me to speak, because no one else was foolish enough to follow the governor. I grew up 3.5 miles from LaGuardia Airport. There are 5 different routes in: Junction Boulevard, Northern Boulevard, Astoria Boulevard, the Grand Central Parkway, the BQE. They all are miserable. My first flight in a plane was out of LaGuardia on Mohawk. The governor was Averell Harriman. We waited 7 governors to finally build a transit link to an airport that's less than 7,000 acres, that has 30 million passengers a year. It's the most productive airport in the country. I love Rick Cotton, but Kennedy Airport is 7,000 acres that has 100 million passengers. LaGuardia is 1/10 the size, and think about it, has 30 million passengers. This airport is the gem of the region, and actually the entire country depends on it because it is the principal business airport for flights under 1,500 miles in and out of the New York region. The AirTrain is going to make life better for everyone who drives because it reduces congestion, and for everyone who's coming to the airport who wants a predictable way. And I think it's important that not just people who go to the US Open should have a nonstop route to Willets. I mean, not just the people who play tennis should be able to go to Flushing Meadow in 15 minutes. Finally, the 30 million air passengers can do it as well. So I want to congratulate the governor, the Port Authority, the legislature for doing the impossible. Because this idea has been around for a long time. We had all kinds of ways we were going to connect to LaGuardia, and we finally have one which is feasible, which is doable, as the governor pointed out, and which will get done. So I want to say that for everyone who comes in and out of New York by air, we're going to make your life better, because we're going to have an airport and a way to get to the airport that the city and the nation and the state can be proud of, finally, rather than trying to make excuses. And I finally want to make one comment about this airport. You know, I agree. When you go past Grand Central, you finally see the construction. And the great part about the AirTrain is that we're moving all the other auxiliary activities off the airport. This is what they did in San Francisco. So the rental cars will be away, everything else. So everyone who walks, travels, no matter how you get to the airport, benefits from the AirTrain. And I think we tend to miss the fact that this is going to make all travel more efficient, faster, and LaGuardia will be the airport that people want to go to, not that they have to regret going to. So I want to thank the governor, I want to thank the Port Authority, and let me introduce the guy whose workers are actually going to do the job. You know, someone has to work. Gary LaBarber, the president of the Building Trades and Construction Council.
Thank you very much, Mitchell. Good afternoon, or I should say good morning to everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be here. You know, I'd like to, today's a great day. That's the first thing I'd like to say. It's a very exciting day for us all. I'd like to share my thoughts with all of you today because the comments that have been made today, I can advocate for. You know, as the governor mentioned, it's not just the AirTrain, it's not just LaGuardia Airport. There are projects going on across this entire state. And if it were not for the bold vision of Governor Andrew Cuomo, these projects would not be happening. We have over 10,000, we have over 20,000 construction workers right now working on projects that were a vision of Governor Cuomo. And without his commitment to this state and to this city and to creating good middle-class jobs, none of this would have happened. That's the fact. That's the fact. And as the governor said, you know, there's sometimes this lack of trust in the capacity of government. But I can attest, because I know the work that's going on, because as Mitchell said, our members are building these projects. I can attest that these projects are real and it's really happening. And this governor is an example for the rest of the country, an example that the rest of the country should follow. There is no question, in my opinion, I've said this before, that we are blessed in the state of New York with the greatest governor in this entire country. And I mean that. That is heartfelt. And finally, let me say this. Governor, we look forward to, in the building trades of New York City, to work with you. We look forward to building these projects for you, and these will be quality projects. And I want to thank you for your continued commitment to the building trades and to organized labor. You have been a stalwart supporter of us because you know the importance of creating jobs that are careers, jobs that support our middle class and what that means for our economy. So now on to signing the bill with Governor Cuomo. Thank you very much.
Mario. Okay.
Congratulations.
Good.
Thank you.
Can you come this way?